Welcome to LeJardin, the garden. Well, this is early winter. Right now we're a bit past the holidays. We had a white Christmas this year, and right now we're in the sunroom, and outside the temperature close to New Year's Eve is close to 48 degrees, and it's discussed that it may go up to into the 50s today. So I'm not sure if this is early spring or basically early winter. But the plants hopefully will remember that there's still a lot of cold weather upcoming. So Happy New Year's in the upcoming year of 2025. There's been a lot of snow though up from central Mass to the Berkshires during the early December. So has been a good coating of snow, and the eastern got probably about a half inch to an inch of snow, depending on where you lived on the coast of Massachusetts. But let's move on to a topic that we all love, is gardening. Now, do you know what type of vegetable or plant the stinking rose represents? Think about it. Now, this term is an old nickname for garlic. It's been used for culinary, medical, with the herbalists and so forth, and it's also produces a flower during its process of expanding and creating more cloves of garlic. Now, this plant, the garlic, has been around for many years. They found an Egyptian papyrus in Egypt that dated close to 5,000 years BC, and it was a medical papyrus, and it used garlic in the process of curing indigestion, GI problems, and even some mild illnesses. So it goes back a long time. But and it's been in many cultures throughout the world that this has been used in the culinary aspects of in their meals. But the question is, it's unknown on where it's actually originated. If it originated in the Middle East or in China or in Africa or in the US, but it's been around in many countries worldwide, so it's interesting. Now, the garlic plant itself has two varieties. It has what they call a hard neck, where the stalk is very, very tough, and a soft neck. Now, the hard neck is usually good for cooler weather, similar to the Northeast area and the upper United States, that you can grow these. And the soft neck likes hot summers and mild winters. So that puts it really down in the southern part of the United States. So check your extension services in your state to determine which are used, and look on they usually come in a bag of anywhere from 25 to 50, depending on the quantity that you're ordering, and see what the type is, or in the catalog that you're ordering it from, if they declare it as a hard neck or soft neck type garlic. And it's used quite a bit in the culinary area for its taste, and it also can be used in the herbist techniques in mixing it for particular medical problems. And it has been documented, like we just saw in the Egyptian papyrus, that goes back almost 5,000 years that it's been tested. So I wonder if the FDA is aware of that, all that testing in that time period. All right, enough of the garlic issue. Now this is early winter. The ground is very hard. Be careful sometimes when the temperatures that we're receiving now are close to the 50s. About an inch to 2 inches soil on the surface of the ground can all sort of defrost and then become soft, and can be very slippery if you're walking through the garden. And some of the areas may become very muddy. So just be careful, wear your boots, and move very cautiously through the garden. If you have slight hills on your property, carry some sort of stick that you have a 3-point setting on the ground so you can walk carefully and have that stick as support. Now, this is after the holidays, and guess what? The catalogs are coming in. Right now I have just about an inch, maybe 2 inches of catalogs, but one year I had almost a foot, 12 inches of catalogs. Other types of seeds are coming in with beans, shrubs, and right now I have a half a dozen squirrels I can see through the windows trotting around looking for food at this point. But getting back to what to do during early winter, sit down with the catalogs with a cup of coffee in your sunroom or in front of a fireplace at your home, and just browse through it. They contain a lot of information that you can read about planting, about harvesting, and what the plant can produce. And they have a great amount of seeds in different categories. Now, when you're shopping in these catalogs, remember what you did last year. If you like the results of those plants, purchase those type of seeds. If you haven't, you want to test new plants or new types of seeds in getting crops into your garden. Read it very carefully and see if they're anti-fungus, antivirus, and a number of virus diseases that they're not affected by these types of viruses. And this will help you to get a better crop and not be disappointed when a virus comes through the garden and all your tomato plants just disappear overnight. And that occurred 3 or 4 years ago, and not just in the amateur garden, in the farms. A new virus came through and wiped out acres of tomatoes. And I can remember paying quite a bit for tomatoes, and even now we're paying quite a bit without the viruses. So sit down, read them, and while you're doing it, order some seeds, and when you do get them back, organize the seeds. In other words, if you're getting cantaloupe, they should be under a C category, beans under beans, and within beans and alphabetically, and the types of beans that you're having, A's, C's, A to Z, and they have a large number of seeds to select from. And you'll enjoy it, and you'll gain a lot of knowledge on the types of seeds that are available and are disease-proof and virus-proof in doing the aspects of it. So doing good aspects of it. Now let's talk about, there's no snow on the ground here. The temperature is 55 or close to it at this point. And what you want to do is sort of get out into the garden, be careful, and check the perennials. Sometimes what happens during these warm spells, the ground sort of pushes up, and actually the perennial may be pushed up with it. And when the temperature drops again into the low teens or 20s degrees Fahrenheit, your plants can be burnt, what we call burnt, or get frostbitten by the cold weather, and actually may kill the plant itself when it tries to rejuvenate itself in the coming spring. So get out there. Now, if you do find some perennial plants that have been upheaved, put your feet around it and push down on the plant, and you'll actually see the upheaving, because you'll see cracks around the perennial. And what you do is just put your feet up close to it and just press down, and this will secure it for the spring aspects of it. Now also, this is a good time now. We can see all the branches and we can do some pruning, especially if you have grapes, you're taking grapes. This is a good time to cut the grapes so they don't, what we call bleeding. If you cut your plants during the spring and summer, what you'll see once you cut it, you'll see the plant actually bleeding out its sap, and you don't want that to occur. Right now, if you do it during the winter, the sap is still frozen in the plant and it won't leak out. and Mother Nature will just sort of close up the wound for spring, so you'll have a better crop of whatever vine crop that you're growing. You may want to check at this point now, all the leaves are gone on the trees. Look up and look at your trees, and even look at some of your plants, or not plants, but trees that you planted that are sort of miniature trees. I mean, we have some miniature trees that are just about 3 to 4 feet tall, and they're producing, I mean, not giant apples and so forth, but they produce a good crop of apples, the size of little bigger, probably a little smaller than softballs. And they do a great, they taste very good, similar to the bigger plants and so forth. Now, again, look at the trees, look for any storm damage or trees that are hanging over or caught in the limbs, and doing a strong wind, they may come down. If they're close to your house, you may want to call, if they're big enough, you may want to call some professionals to come in to remove these type of trees, so these larger branches don't fall on your house. And some there may be already diseased. You'll see the disease on the outside, or you'll see the bark has been peeled away and it looks sort of rotting inside. And they may actually be dead, and you may want to, again, depending on the size of them, you may want to have the professional people come in and look at it. Now, you also have, I know I have, interior gardens that are sort of on the windowsills or close to the windowsills, or even in, like this area here, we have a sunroom that the temperature really, when the sun hits it with no leaves shading it, the temperature can really get up into the 60s and be very comfortable. But you may want to have some sort of shade in the evening, especially when you have very cold weather. But look at your plants, make sure you water them, but don't overwater them. Take your finger and touch the soil. If the soil feels very dry, that's the time to give them a drink of water, and examine the plant very carefully. Now, we talked about bringing these in late fall. We sort of quarantined them, and also to give them a shower. Really, a lot of people laugh at that, but yet if you take the plant and put it under the shower, not on full blast, but enough light rain coming down, you'll brush any insects that have been attached to the plant, and they won't infect any other plants in your interior garden. But also, if you brought in the chives that we talked about, you may want to cut them back to about 1 inch. And what we're going to do is put them into a cold environment for about 2 weeks. This sort of stimulates growth with them. They're going through a resting period, so that once they come back out and put into the sunlight in the southern window or eastern window, they sort of sprout up, and you can have cuttings for your salads in the middle of winter. And similar to other plants, you can work with that also and keep them very active. Some of them will actually flower during the winter. We sort of fool the plants to continue growing, and they'll actually produce flowers probably by early spring, and you'll see them blossoming out, and you really enjoy it. The kids like it too, and for the children, you can take, sometimes you get lettuce heads that have a bottom still on them, or you can get the celery. What I do for the holidays, or what we did, and for the grandkids, where you cut the bottom of celery just about, I would say, a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and we settle that into you can put them into a little small bowl, say in an inch, probably 1/2 inch of water. And once the water evaporates or is taken in by the plant, you can put some more water and watch. You can show the children how the plant will pop out from the celery bottom and produce flowers, not flowers, but leaves in the plant. So you can watch the growth. We grew in 1 year almost to 7 inches, and it looked as though you could actually see the formation of the celery plant itself. And you can do that, like I said, with lettuce. The lettuce you cut the bottom off about a ½ inch or 3/4 of an inch, put that into a saucer of water or a small bowl, and within I would say 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see growth. Probably even earlier than that, if you put that into the sunlight on one of the windowsills, and you'll see the leaves popping out, and actually will grow into lettuce leaves within 3 to 4 weeks. And it's very exciting to watch the kids watch this and enjoy Mother Nature. Now, talk about we're still inside, but if you have fireplaces and you've been putting logs in, I know there was one session in December that the fireplaces were really, because temperatures actually dropped into the 20s. But if you're harvesting the ash and you're putting it in the garden and so forth, everyone says put the fire ash into the garden. You got to be very careful, because if you put too much, you're making your soil pH go higher. And we talked about this in the previous show, that if some seeds or plants need sort of neutral to slightly acid, not too acid like blueberries, but has to be a little acid, below 7. So if you put on a lot of ash this year, you may want to have your soil tested in the spring. The University of Massachusetts Extension Service has a laboratory that if you send a soil sample to them, you take what you do. Usually when you do that, you take 6 sections of your garden, mix them together, and then take a sample from that mixture and send it to them. You don't want to just have one spot in your garden and taking that mixture. You want to have an entire area to cover. So 6 parts of your garden, mix it, put it in sample bag that they'll send to you, and within, I would say, 3 weeks, you'll have a sample results, and probably even earlier. I think they're doing it online now, that you can retrieve that information online, and you can print it out for your records or transfer it to your disk of gardening on your computer and showing your results. And by the way, while you're in here now, we talked about doing the planning of your garden last year. You should have made some sort of map to show where all your plants are, and you put that into a booklet showing what you planted and how you have to move some of your crops into a different parts of the garden now, because you try not to grow the same material every year in the garden. You want to move that section of the garden. If you're planting tomatoes in the section A and you got A to C, you move tomatoes that you grow, you now move tomatoes to a B section, and the next year you move the B tomatoes to the C section. So you're rotating your crops, and this helps the soil to accommodate the nutrients in it. So keep that in mind. So you should be drawing up a new map for this year. Once you selected all your seeds and ordered the seeds, you should be sitting down and saying, well, I'm going to have these types of tomatoes I'm going to grow or purchase in some of these nurseries that will be trying to sell plants for you for next year's gardening. And also, we're talking about pruning outside. We should be pruning your plants inside. Some of the plants may have got a little straggly, and so you want to cut those back. Any other plants you may be harvesting, don't let them grow too tall, and because you have them in small pots, and so if the fruit or crop is top heavy, they can actually fall out, and be careful with that. And also, you keep a clean house, but somehow dust seems to come from somewhere. Also, sort of brush or dust your plants, because don't forget, the leaves on your plants have little pores that are taking in carbon dioxide and outputting oxygen. If they can't take in the appropriate air to help in their nutrients and growing process, your plants will sort of like almost trying to starve or trying to be asphyxiated by not be able to assimilating the appropriate air to create their photosynthesis operations to create their crops and so forth. Again, we talked about children's activities. Keep them involved, take them out for a walk and show them. Frankly, if you go to the rhododendrons and the mountain laurels, you actually see the flower heads that are developing now, and they will be coming out probably to see. This is just starting early January. They'll be coming out sometime in late March, and even April, depending on the variety that you get. And you can actually have them, if they have a small camera, have them take a picture every month to show a particular type of rhododendron's flower increasing, and showing the final results, the flowering of that particular plant and so forth. Now, if you have, we're talking about indoor plants, if you have pets, you have to be very careful of what your interior garden is going to look like. Because right now, there are poisonous plants for cats and dogs. I mean, basically, if you're starting carnations, or if you have bouquets that you've been given for the holidays, you want to put them aside where your dog can't get at it. The cats, well, they can get at anything. So just be careful where you put these plants, especially aloe, carnations, daisies, eucalyptus. It comes in a lot of displays. Garlic is even a problem too. So when you bring that gardens from the grocery store, make sure you put them in the refrigerator right away. Or if you wish to plant cloves, some of those cloves, those actually come up. Just be careful where you set the plant so they don't go, because the cats are basically, they like to munch on grass at times, especially during the winter. So that they don't know the distinguishing between a grass or a poisonous plant. They just nibble on it, and that's when they become a problem. Lily, poinsettias, and when you get tulips and daffodils in the fall, be careful with that. And we also have hydrangea plants out here, and they're in the dry. They stop flowering, but they're still in the dry mode, and you can still cut them and make a dry arrangement of them, and they look pretty good if you put other types of flowers in them. But your pets have to be careful where you put these plants so your pets don't get at them. Now, we covered quite a bit of exterior, internal gardening. This is a rest period for you too, because you're not digging holes, gardening all the time. You're just watching your interior gardening. Take time to relax and read the magazines or the books that you receive on gardening during the holidays, and enjoy the chapters, and keep a piece of paper next to you or a pad of paper next to you and take notes on, well, that's an interesting topic. That maybe I can try that this year, try something new. Or they talk about each year the new seeds come out and so forth. You may want to try that, one package of those, to try more, be more creative in the gardening aspects of it. We talked about the planting that you did last year and the garden that you had. But did you put down the results of those particular types of tomatoes? Did you keep what we call the bookkeeping results? If that plant, we'll say a tomato plant, you love the taste of it, and it was an early plant, you didn't have to wait well into September to harvest it, but it was a quick, it took 60 days instead of 90 days to produce. You can get some of those to have 60 days, 70 days, and 90 days, and it spreads out the tomato harvest. Because sometimes some tomatoes will be harvested all at once, or come to fruit all at once, and you're harvesting all at once, and then you have nothing. So try to get a plant when you purchase it or when you read about it and so forth and order the seeds. Look at the date from day of planting when it would be producing the tomatoes, and try to space them out over 60, 70, or 90 days, and it keeps the taste, and some of them are very different from the early and late ones in taste concept. And you may like the longer ones than the shorter ones, but the shorter ones are also maybe smaller in comparison to the big boys that you'll have in late September or in September, and you'll enjoy those. Also, make sure you take down the Christmas wreaths that you were hanging on the door and outside on posts or trees and so forth, because once they become dry, they become very dry, and they could become fire hazards, especially the ones between the door and the storm door, where there's a lot of heat building up between these doorways. And you could also have a sort of a spontaneous, when it gets so hot with the sun coming down on that door, it could just have a spontaneous combustion, and then you could actually have a fire in it. Artificial ones, it's not a problem, but some of those artificial ones, you leave them too long in the sun, they'll sort of fade, the green will fade away. So if you think about it, if you have the natural ones, you should be taking them out of doorways now and throwing them away, or you can put them out in the yard around the bird feeders. Now, we talked about, the weather's very mild now, and I've seen a lot of birds looking around and making sure that your bird feeders are basically filled. Now, a warning for those, there's been a lot of individuals taking licenses out to raise chickens. We're not talking large flocks, but we're talking, we'll say, anywhere from 5 to 10 chickens. And with the price of eggs going up with the new year, it's really something to see how much you're paying for a dozen eggs, anywhere from $2 to $5 more than previous prices before Christmas. So just be aware, prices are going up on the eggs. But if you are raising chickens, a small flock of them, we'll say about a maximum of 10, don't put bird feeders out, because right now there's a avian flu going around, and they're coming from the wild birds that come in or migratory into the area and they're spotting these particular bird feeders, and they become accustomed to landing there and taking the food out. I'm not saying they're carrying it, but they could be a carrier to them, and they could infect your flock. And if one bird dies from it, the whole flock is eliminated. So just be careful. If you're raising the chickens, no bird feeders should be around. And also, with the warm weather, I'm not sure about the hibernation of some of the animals that are in the area, depending on where you live. So just be careful of that. Also, when you have extreme cold, which we're expecting in January and February and even into March, and if you have your plants in the window, you should get a cardboard on those nights, a piece of cardboard that will fit in the window, not in the window, but between the window and the plants, because that coldness against the windows, it still can have a problem. If the leaves touch the window, the plant can be sensitive to that, and the leaf will die and maybe have some after effect with the plant itself. You could lose a whole side of a plant if the leaves are touching the windows and temperatures are in the teens, and you can feel the coldness on the windows. You should have something to protect the plants. You can even put a sheet of some sort that will protect that. But the cardboards are good, and from the bins I've seen, trash bins I've seen so far, there's been a lot of cardboard with the Christmas gifts and so forth that could be used for those types of protection of the plants. Now in the fall programs that we've done, we talked about tools. Now if you didn't clean them, or if you're just letting them stand there, be careful. You should go out there and have a look at them, and if there's any rust developing on them, or there's still a lot of dirt on them, you should get out there on a nice warm day and clean them out. Because you may be carrying device is on that dirt that's on the plant, and you don't want to transfer that back into the soil in the new year of gardening. We also talked about the fertilizer, and if you have liquid fertilizer or any insecticide liquid, they should have been brought in at this time. If they haven't been brought in, you should go out and look at them and see if they're frozen. If they're frozen, you should get rid of them or bring them in and defrost them or de-ice them, you might say, at a slow rate, and put them up on the shelf. So if you have small children, they have no access or capability to getting at those boxes that we talked about, putting a sort of a skeleton or an X across the box to indicate that this is hazardous or poisonous material. And make sure your dogs don't just sort of don't drop any liquids in trying to clean these bottles up on the floor. And sometimes your animals will come over and sort of think it's water and they'll lick it. So just be careful with that. Put paper on the floor if you're working with them, but they should be in a garage, in a box, and maybe some insulation in them, or a heated garage, not when sub-zero temperature is in the garage, because it can freeze and actually crack, and then the liquid would spill out. Also, your fertilizer should be tightened up. Put them into one of the trash bags and put a tag on them so the children can't open the bags, and that should take care of that. So we talked about the birds. I mean, the bird fooding. If you're not raising chickens, the bird food, you have the black sunflower seed, you have thistle, you have peanuts, you have a variety. You go to these nurseries, they have a wide variety of birds seeds and feeders themselves, or you can order them through the catalog. So right now, I'm going to be hunkering down near the fireplace, maybe with my coffee or maybe a glass of wine tonight, and just going through the catalogs and reading and enjoying and relaxing. And if you have seeds left over, you may want to do the seed roll. You take paper towel, you put take one of the sections of it, water the towel, make sure they're sort of wet, put seeds, 5 or 6 seeds of a particular from a seed pack, close the towel, again water it, lift it and put it on a tray or a plate and put it in the window, or just keep it in the warm kitchen and wait about a week, keep making sure that the towel is wet or moist, and see how many sprout. If all 5 sprouted, your seeds are good for 2025. If only 1 or 2 seeds sprout, you're down to 20% or maybe 25%, depending on how many you do, will actually grow. So that seed packet, it's not very reliable for seeds for next year. So you can discard those, and if you like the brand or the type of seed from a certain company, and you have that catalog, you can reorder at that time. So again, relax, take it easy, enjoy the nice warmth. It's a little cool in the sunroom at the moment, and that's why I'm wearing a sweater. But next to the fireplace with your coffee or wine, have a good year, Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you in the spring concerning gardening. This is Robert Boissel, LeJardin, the garden.